Ladies and mental gen, welcome to the daily that has art in it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today is July 4th, 2012. Today is the KNKL Show, episode 42, and I am your host, Kienan Lafferty. Today we are going to be doing a tutorial on how to render mechanical objects in perspective. But before we get into that, we are going to be taking a stroll down lovely lane. That's right. It is the Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we have a plethora of more awe-inspiring pieces submitted to the Facebook. Thank you guys once again for contributing, submitting, and for those of you who are commenting and talking amongst yourselves and telling each other how cool you are, because you really are awesome. So thank you guys so much. The Twitter! For those of you who are following, thank you very much. If you are not following yet, please follow, because I will post links not of when I am watching the helicopter cat on YouTube, but I will post links when I have uploaded new episodes to YouTube. So you can be first to know. This just in. Extra, extra. Read all about it. And with that, we will move on into the tutorial. So I trust that all of you had a lovely July 4th. I had an awesome time. I went down to Ventura Beach and I did some great boogie boarding in the freezing cold weather because it was overcast that day. But that did not stop me from wanting to get in the water. So I had a great time and yeah, just happy to be back alive and not suffering from pneumonia. So today what we are going to be drawing is, as you can see right over here, we have our good friend the metal slug from SNK's arcade series, and yeah, it's an amazing game, one of my favorites, and I thought it would be a great way to demonstrate how to deconstruct this vehicle and basically render it in a 3D space, and then you can take what you learn from this to create your own mechanized vehicle monster things. And the Metal Slug is actually a very good candidate for this because it has a lot of organic as well as refined shapes. So first thing we're going to do is, you'll notice I have laid down this guideline structure. This is basically going to represent our perspective, right? This one here, one across, and then this one here. And they don't have to be perfect. Like, you don't have to like draw the vanishing point out here and then like perfectly, you know, trace it down. This is mostly just for the general blueprint, you would say. So with that, lay that down. And then make another layer over top of it. We will call this one the sketch layer. And we will begin pulling out the shapes from this. So the first thing we're going to do is take note of this right here. This little shape. And it's going to be our rectangle. And it's not touching the floor. It's up off a little ways. And imagine like every time you draw a line up, it is going to be basically, let's see. It's going to be going like up like this. Like imagine this is the center point, right? So if you were to draw a line up and then you were to draw a line over, see, like that. See, it creates a wall, and that is our center point. So we'll be building the tank from that center point. So, and it's a good way because you can easily measure, like look here and then look here and make sure that these distances are the same. So we'll go up like that. And right now what we're doing is we're just laying in the guidelines. So these can be fairly loose and simple. So basically I'm just drawing in the body of the slug, which is basically going to look like this. And it's really easy once you get the hang of it, because basically all the lines, all you have to worry about is lines going this way, lines going that way, and then lines going up, you know? And basically when you look at that, I don't know for those of you who have worked in Maya, but there's like this little tool that looks like this. This represents, you know, it's like X, Y, and then Z, you know? So, yes. For those of you who are Maya nerds, such as myself, I didn't study a lot of Maya, but I know a little bit of it. So now, moving on to the wheels. Let us extract the wheels. The way that they work, it seems, is they go up a little bit higher than this, and they're represented by circles, right? And these are touching the ground. So I want to make sure they go up like this. And then a good thing to do when you're rendering out ellipses, one thing I've noticed is, say you're drawing a wheel, right, in perspective. Easiest way I've found to do this is actually not to do it like draw the ellipse like that and then have the wheel like that, because see how that looks weird? What you have to do is, and this was like so brilliant when I had it explained to me, is basically the ellipse, wherever the ellipse is, the widest points, which is here and here, have to be, or will be most of the time, unless it's like some weird angle, will be touching the line. So whatever, if the ellipse was going this way, like if the perspective was going from here back and you're drawing a wheel, the ellipse is going to look like this, right? And then followed by, then followed by the wheel around it, like that. See? So instead of drawing the line straight up and then drawing the wheel around it, what we're going to do is, because the center of the wheel is right around there, we're going to draw in our ellipse and make sure that it is following that line there. Make sure the outermost parts of that ellipse are on the line, right? Same thing over here. Like that. And you can start to see our wheel taking shape. And it kind of comes down like this. This will kind of represent the tank treads. Very good, very good. And the second one kind of falls back here. Again, remember, the perspective line is going this way, so the ellipse will go that way as well. And draw the second ellipse to show where it connects. And then think of how that tread kind of comes up and goes around like that. Okay? So now we're kind of starting to plan out. You can start seeing how these shapes are coming in. And basically this circle, what it represents is the little hubcap thing, right? So you can draw it out like that. And when you put the circle in more like that, it gives you the feeling, it's almost like a computer speaker, or like a boombox speaker. When you put that there, it basically, your eye translates that as, okay, that circle or that shape is inside. It's more sunken into the wheel. So there you go. Moving on, same thing over here. Just kind of throw in a little bit of the hint of that wheel there. And go on back. Okay, so we have the basic outline for our wheels. Then what happens is they have like this little thing that kind of, the tread goes up into it like that, then it goes back down. But there's this little thingy here, this rounded off thingy that goes up here like that. And I'll kind of erase a little bit of what's behind it so I can remember that shape kind of hugs this, and then it goes up to this little ghost face thing, which I never understood what it was, but it is cool. And we'll put it in there. And that follows that perspective line forward. Like that, right? That's looking about right. Okay, moving on. Let us do some more with the front here, right? So we're going to draw in right on that center point there. There's this little connecty thing. Let's just basically sketch that in. This is on a different plane in itself, so you just kind of wing it. You know, just draw what looks right. But this plane here is working with the rest of our outlines. So make sure to use that. And again, I'm working on still very, very loose shapes. Feel free, especially with the metal slug and things like mechanical creatures, to incorporate a little bit of like soft edges and rounded edges to them, because it makes it look cooler and a little bit more like high-tech and organic and live looking, which is something that I really like about the metal slugs. And keep in mind how high these treads come, off the wheel. Just kind of draw a line across. When in doubt, always draw a line across, and then you can kind of measure where that's going to be. You can see it's kind of turning it into like a little car looking thing. It's kind of cool. I like it. So moving on, let us head on up to the turret of the slug. Now this is actually very, very interesting, because the turret actually reads to me as a mix between a box and a cylinder. So let us do that. And this one actually has the perspective lines kind of like going back like this, you know, like with the vantage point there. But what we're going to do, just for the sake of being consistent, because being consistent is good, we are going to continue to render this with the lines we placed down. So let's see here. Let's have this come up. We want to make sure we have enough room for the cannon. And again, remember, the cannon is another cylindrical object. So that means the ellipses will line up, the edges of the ellipses will line up with the line of perspective, right? So the first one, let's make it really big, right, like that. And then it has the second smaller one that will connect there to the second cannon. That way make it a little bit wider. And also, depending on how wide that ellipse is, it will tell you, your mind will translate it as how in perspective it is, basically. So like if I were to draw an ellipse like this, it's going to look like the cannon should go out like that, right? And it's like, it's off. So what you want to do is make sure that your ellipse is wide enough that it's falling on those lines, and at the same time reads as it is going out in the same fashion as your vehicle is oriented. And again, for those of you who work a lot in perspective, again, this is probably, I just learned this like last month, and it blew my mind, and so I had to share what I had learned so far. By no means is this a perfectly like right way to do it, I guess you could say, but it is the little bit that I have learned, and I love it. And so, like I said, I just wanted to share it with you guys, and I hope it helps you guys out. So now I'm just kind of drawing in, like there's this little shape thing underneath. It looks like a little holdy thing. And again, even that ellipse follows those rules because it's another ellipse basically inside here. Doing that. Moving on. Moving on. Let's see. So this is basically where the cylindrical shape and the box shape kind of come together and make what is the metal slug. Basically, there's the flat face here, right? There's the flat face right there. But then what happens is once it goes around, there's like this cylindrical shape on top of it. Like that. And remember, kind of draw that line back just to make sure you're in the proper perspective. And this comes up and kind of connects that, right? So that's the beginnings of it. I'll erase that back there. And what helps to accentuate this is that what they've done is they've actually placed a bar here, a little roll bar or whatever this thing is. It's freaking sweet. I don't know what purpose it serves, but it looks cool. So we'll put it in there. Why not? And again, feel free to be very, very messy at this point, because you got like all these other little hydraulics and stuff in here. This one occurs on the other side, so it's good to make sure that, you know, if you draw in a little hydraulic connecting this thing here, right, like that, that you draw it on the other side as well, as you can see here. And then these look like little lights. I think these are little lights on here. So you can see how there's one here and one there. Make sure you carry those over. Cool. And then also remember, like, because the bar is here, you'll see the bar on this end too. And you can always go back and sculpt the lines, as you've seen me do many a time. In case I still am not happy with these ellipses. I'm going to push them out a little bit more. Round them off a little bit. There we go. A little better. Cool. Now it looks like there's a little like shape that comes down like this and then goes up. You can see how just like this little thing. It's cool because this shape being like that, I think, is what the fact that it cuts like that sharp line. It's telling me that there's a shape that's going up there like that. Like there's a change. There's a change in plane happening there. It's basically going up and around. And then the roundness of these, the little rocket things on the side, that's telling me that the side of this tank is in fact round and not just straight up flat. So always remember, like, basically there's so many ways that you can help communicate the form of your vehicle. Dropping that back like that. Hope those actually come in a little bit like that. And again, look at how all these lines, this line here is connecting with this line, that line, that line, that line, and helping to reinforce the perspective you have laid down. So make sure you're always doing that. And again, these shapes here, whenever possible, always reinforce that perspective because it will help communicate your ideas. And we love communication. We love communication, visual communication. Looks like he's got these little things here too. So things going up, and then it goes into this big scoop thing. That's pretty awesome. That is super awesome. Love it! And then back here it looks like you got a bunch of like little tool things. I don't know exactly what they are. This looks like some sort of venti system thing. Just gonna draw that up really quick. You got your little floodlight. That's always good. Oh, again, remember, we are working in the proper perspective, so that ellipse will go this way instead of up like that. You can change it up a little bit, actually. Like, say you wanted to draw that light, like changed in perspective. Like, say it can move around, like up and down, for whatever reason. Let's say we want the light to be pointing up this direction. Now all you got to do is line up your ellipse with that line. Okay? And then, yeah. Yes. Just like that. And then drawing the little apparatus it hooks up to, like that. And then the little covers. The cover even has its own ellipse, as you can see there. It just kind of cuts off in the center. See, look at that. Look at how you can communicate so much just with that ellipse. Just following those ellipses and make sure they all reinforce each other. I think that's the biggest thing, like when drawing mechanical objects, is whatever way your vehicle or a limb or whatever part of the thing is oriented, just make sure that it reinforces itself. Because when you have conflicting perspective lines waging war against each other, it tends to look a little messy, and then you just get confused because you're like, how is this facing? How does this work? How does it work? Now I'm drawing in this little thing in the back. Again, more things reinforcing this line here, like that. And then the antenna. Antenna just goes up like that. And it's got two of them. There you go. Cool, very good. This circle thing, also, there's a lot of things happening here with this circle. Could be like a gas cap or a sticker or whatever, but that's also helping to communicate what plane this is on. Because of that circle, because it's like that, this makes me believe that it rounds off like this, you know, and then goes back. You know, if I were to draw lines on this tank. Just because of that circle there. So I don't know, maybe they placed it there purposefully. And then again, this circle, this triangle, is reinforcing the fact that this is going backwards. And it has all these other little designs on it too. So you can see that our metal slug is starting to take shape. Quite well, quite well. Here's an example of these little things that stick off of it. These are in a different perspective. as you can see here. They kind of like jut outward, you know, kind of like snail eyes. They're not like perfectly out like this, you know. They don't both point the same direction. They actually stick out at different angles. So make sure that you render those as well. And again, all you got to do for those is think of the line of which they're going. Make sure the edges of that ellipse are touching that line. That one's almost a perfect circle because it's coming more at you. But you see what I'm saying? Like every single ellipse and every single cylindrical shape and thing like that can be calculated with your perspective line. This thing comes back like that, and goes up like that. It's cool, very cool. And then this, look, if you draw a line across, should exist right there, and it does, as you can see right there. That corresponds to that. Look at that, that's awesome. Going back again, looks like these tank treads will come up, and yeah, just trying to make sure it looks the same width on each side. So again, let's calculate, like this tire is that width there, then this tire actually should start there and end there. That was why that was looking a little funky. Fix that up. Alright, so as you can see, our Metal Slug vehicle is starting to take shape, and it's very nice and very clean looking. You can see all of the shapes. Let me just go through here really quick and just highlight all of the shapes that we've done to help reinforce what is happening with the perspective. So you got these guidelines underneath, right? These babies under here, right? Like that. Now look at all of the places that we've used corresponding lines to this one. Look, we've got one there, 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 there. Everywhere. Look at all that. And then this way, we've got, you know, this line, that line, that line, that line. And you can just go straight up, and you can see all the places that we've used this line, even here. Here. So what that does is when your brain sees all of those things, it says, wow, that in fact could exist in a 3D space, and it does. And then all you gotta do is you take away that little guideline, and then bam, there you go. You have a cool little Metal Slug thing, and then you can start going in there with what you've done, and you can start to basically render out the details. And I'll show you a little bit of that really quickly. So let's go to the lines. I named it kinds, that's fine. That rhymed. Whoa. Okay, now we're just getting dangerous. So let's just pick like a dark color here. And then basically what you're going to do is just go in here and be like, actually that might be a little early for that, because what I want to do is render out the tank treads, right? So let's do that really quickly by saying, okay, there's a halfway point in this wheel, right? Halfway point that comes down like that, and the tank treads follow this basically. Okay? Now you go to your lines and you can start to refine that. You can say, okay, so the tank treads each kind of have this shape going on. See, they have like a little bit of a curve in like that, right? So you can draw it in like that, draw it up. And then what they do is they kind of curve in and around, like as if they were attached by a little bolt right there, you know? So communicate that going forward. And they're also like thick plates too. So what you can do is draw in a little thing like that. Like that, right? And then you can go through. Doing that right? Yep. You can go through and make sure that you're following those guidelines. Basically start to throw in all the awesome details that you want to see with the tank treads. And again, remember, there's like a space in here. Going down and just make sure that they're all following that perspective line. And that is going to make your Metal Slug more metally and more sluggy. And, well, sluggy isn't necessarily a good term, but you know what I mean. And make sure, notice that these overlap. So make sure that each of your tank treads are in fact overlapping as well. That's going in sculpting. And you can actually do this in the sketch too, because this is still pretty sketchy, but I just tend to be really messy with my lines. So you can do as much of the sketching as you want, you know, in that stage, and then you can sketch even more once you go to the lines. And then you can lower the opacity on this and do more lines, you know. So don't always be so caught up in making it perfect once you start going to the darker lines. Make sure all those things are looking good. Now let's here. Let me show you a little bit of a challenge that I might that I may incur along the way. Showing these things going up like that, and then they go in there. Let's make sure this is looking right. There we go. That's what it needed. It was bending too much. And again, look, I think I'm losing a little bit of this here. Make sure you got this line still being reinforced to help communicate what is happening with those treads. So now what's next up is what happens when the treads kind of go back like this, like because they need to kind of, you know, look like they're coming up and out of something. You know, so first thing I'm going to do is actually draw in this shape here, right? And say, okay, I know I need the tread of the tank to basically look like it's coming under here, up, and then around, right? And then it's following, again, that ellipse in there. So keep in mind this line, and then think of how these lines kind of go back. So there's going to be a point where it kind of overlaps itself. So simply draw this center line up and down and then back in like that. So you can kind of see how this little snake pattern is creating itself. Again, this is going to go out like that. It's going to be overlapped here and then come up. And then all you got to do is just take this shape, say, okay, from here, I know that it goes back, down like that, and it comes up. It overlaps there, follows this line here. So erase that, erase that. Goes back like that. See? So now you can see basically how you can help calculate that just by making sure that the planes still exist in those treads. And again, this isn't, I don't think this is the best I could have done it. I don't know, it's not bad. It's not bad. Just make sure you're taking into account this line here, right? Because this is what basically tells us where that plane change is happening. And again, here you'll probably just see a couple shapes like that. You know, that represents the treads behind there. And then those treads will come down and attach there. Right? Just like that. Look. And now you can see these treads come up, out, and around, and then back up and in. And then you can draw in the wheel there as it connects to everything. And again, the best way to do it is just kind of fiddle around with it and just kind of make sure the most important thing you can do is just make sure that the lines are reinforcing themselves. Like this, there's a little bit of overlap, so these lines are always going to be going out a little bit, but for the most part, they're following that ellipse that was there before, right? Remember that? So make sure you reinforce your structure. That will make you a good man. Cool, huh? Isn't that awesome? You can draw ghost faces now. You can draw professional ghost faces in perspective now after this tutorial. This is awesome. If I actually find some time, I swear I'm going to do another awesome Metal Slug tribute fan art again, because I absolutely love this game. It's freaking awesome. Going up like that. Like that. And bam! So you can basically see the beginnings of how I would start the Metal Slug tank. And it actually has like little extra things in there too. Yes! So that is how I would begin my Metal Slug tank. And I hope that that kind of like sheds some light on how to render things in perspective. It works really well with cars. I mean, you can work with, this is definitely a very kind of mix of small, like intricate shapes, but you can also play around with like really loose, kind of long, flowy shapes and make like some cool concept cars I've seen my friends do. And but the basic thing is don't be afraid to be a little bit sketchy when you're in the blue phase, and just watch for when your perspective lines are reinforcing each other, because that is the most important thing. So, with that, I will conclude the daily. Thank you guys once again for all the awesome submissions to the Facebook, and as well as the comments down below of what you guys would like to see as far as future dailies. We are going to be going into some more awesome, like more requested dailies later on. I just want to make sure that we have some good variety going on, and it's not all like, hey, this is how to draw girls, and hey, this is a better way to draw girls, you know? So, yeah, thank you guys, and please keep the comments coming as far as new ideas and dailies you'd like to see. Now, with that out of the way, tomorrow night we are having another World of Warcraft pool party where you basically join me in the World of Warcraft on the Ysera realm at 10 o'clock server time. The game is free to play, so if your friends told you to join, definitely join. Download the 10 gig file, delete games to get those out of the way and make room for it. I don't care what they are, but be there and it will be awesome. And then afterwards we'll have another Q&A session like we did last time, and that was absolutely amazing. We had some great questions asked, and yeah, it was really cool enjoying a live experience with you guys. So please be there again. With that, we will conclude the daily. So thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. I am Keenan Lafferty, and I will see you guys next week, or tomorrow, and then next week.